Attitudable opens the door to a new world of people transforming lives and the way we do business. Today, we are honored to have here with us Anna Shlegel, who is the author of a book that really changed the way many, well, all of us who read it already, the way we see business in a global way as we live today. So, Anna, welcome to our podcast today.
Thank you so much, Dolores. Nice to be here.
I was very lucky because I met Anna in person a couple of years ago. She was a speaker at the ATA annual conference in Minneapolis, 2021, I think it was, just after the pandemic. And I was able to meet her in person and talk to her about all of this global entrepreneur that you are.
Yeah, I remember meeting you. Yes, it was the American Translators Association. That was a keynote.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes, exactly. Anna, and well, for all of many of us, of course, know you already, but if you would like to tell us a bit more about yourself, because you are a truly global person, not only entrepreneur. So just briefly, if you can tell us a bit about you.
Sure. Yes, I grew up very globally. I'm from the border of Catalonia and France. And so I always think that people that are born between borders that speak different languages, it already brings something special. And in Catalonia, we grew up speaking Spanish and Catalan. And then, we would go and shop in France as much as we would shop on the Catalan side.
Yeah.
And then my degrees are all, well, my first two university degrees are in German because I attended German faculties. And then several other countries I've stayed in are Kenya or the UK. I spent a fair amount of time in Germany, but where I've spent the most time is the United States. I think if I put together how long I've been in China, it's probably like a year. How long have I been in India? It's probably like a year and a half.
Wow.
So yeah, I've traveled, worked a lot in Japan, worked a lot around probably the UK, Munich, Paris, the most as well. Yeah,
Wow. Yes.
yeah,
And your book, Truly Global, the theory and practice of bringing your company to international markets, really change the way not only professionals but companies uh, face this global economy or the borderless world that we live in. Why? Yes. Why?
yeah.
How do you happen to find that name that in
Oh,
global
the
encompasses it
name.
all?
Well, the name came after. I think first, when you are a globalizer and you start globalizing a company, usually boards or CEOs have a mandate to go global, and they may not necessarily have somebody inside the company that can lead this very complex orchestration. It's very much an art. There's not a lot of people in the world that can do this, or that are a very strategic level. I think in you can find translation teams or you can find some engineering teams, but the way globalizers, a few of us, run this is a truly, I think, an asset for any company because you can help specific markets to really do very well. And the book came about probably because in the last 30 years, I have heard, what do you do all day? And what is this thing? And why are you not in marketing? And why don't you work for product? And why are you not in engineering? And why are you not, why are sales not meeting the revenue? And so I'm like, okay, let me explain how, from my experience, the companies that I've seen this done well do these things, and it's not a very big book. It explains what are the teams you need, the fact that globalization is extremely horizontal is not just engineering and it's not just sales. It's really very much the product needs to show up as a very normal, regular piece of software or product or hardware that you buy in your country that you can use. And that is very complicated because not everybody goes through the 1,000 things that need to happen for that product to stay in the country, for that product to be seen as a local offering, for that product to not offer encryption issues, or that you don't have latency issues with the software or the login or error messages, that the instructions are in the language, right? That the GUI shows up as a GUI that I'm used to in my country. And that I find this product because many products don't have marketing behind them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you don't want to get on a phone call to call and complain or change or return, or maybe the product has a defect. Am I going to get somebody that speaks my language? So it's all these little pieces, right? And a few of us, I think we understand that this comes after many, many years, because I didn't used to see this whole orchestration. And I call it a team sport, because you may have a beautiful product, but if support is not there and the sales teams are not enabled and the content is not ready, there's not good marketing. People in the field need to want to drive this product as well, right? Any compliance issues, any data management issues. So the book explains all of this, the orchestration of this. And I think there's some people that can do this, and there's some people that I want them to get there. So part of the book was also to encourage, translation managers. Like, why do we still call them translation managers, right? I really want to elevate this profession. We see CMOs, we see CEOs, we see chief this, chief that, but where's the chief globalization officers? When the impact, I think, is very severe. The decisions of picking what products, what countries can make companies a lot of good.
Yes, and they are not, sometimes it's hard to even explain, as you very clearly state on your book, the difference between translation and localization. Sometimes it's just, another step, and it's not. It's very complex, and it's time consuming. And so I love that part that you also affirmed. We have to elevate ourselves and really know the value, the asset that you bring to the company.
That's right. Yeah. And, I've had many, many colleagues, many thousands of stakeholders, thousands of client phone calls at this point, customer phone calls. I've been doing this for 31 years.
Wow.
31 years. Yes. And this is where the patience comes in and the perspective and listening skills comes in. Somebody will want to see you say it this way. Okay, say it this way. If it's going to make them understand it, just go with whatever they think, right? As long as it's not too off base, sorry.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
if you ask a leader what is globalization, they will all have a different opinion. If you ask folks that are not from our profession, right, what is localization, they will understand it at a certain level. And that's okay, because this is why we exist, to make it as seamless as possible. When it gets tricky is when you start forming the teams, you need budget, you need to hire, and you need to explain exactly what is it that this person does, right? There's still a lot of people in any company that have been like, exactly what does she do all day? And I'm like, magically make things appear in the country, and so it's fun. I mean, a lot of people understand it. I think I always, I sit in a few boards where the CEOs will ask, what will make a big difference? And I'm like, hire people that have really gone global before, executives that have gone global before are folks that will get it very quickly. We'll get the terms, we'll get what it takes, we'll have seen the teams, we'll have seen the value. They themselves will have traveled and spent, a lot of time outside of the US or outside of whatever country, right? Maybe you're in Argentina right now, so maybe it's
Yes.
an Argentinian, company that wants to go global. It's kind of the same ingredients. It doesn't matter what country you sit. Yeah.
Yes, I really have that you it's not just the language, as you said, it's so much more, it's a word more. As I told you, I was some days in Germany, and even though I don't speak German, I just barely understand. The way when you go there and visit the place and see how the people communicate to each other, how is the advertising working, how everything is, going around, it's so different than reading the newspaper or watching the TV in German or the German TV. It's a whole of difference than living there, savoring
Oh,
the
absolutely.
everyday. So you
Yeah.
need that to be
Yeah.
there in the market.
Very, very much so. Like visiting a few times, very different than the colleagues that we have who live there, that see the realities of how a
Exactly.
solution or a product is landing in that country, right? And very important that we listen to them because we live
Mhm.
in different countries. So globalization is very much also about listening for what your colleagues in different countries are trying to tell you. That's
Mm.
very, very important. There's
Yeah.
so many decisions that are being made without them, because there's a path or because there is a goal, and I always advocate for let's slow down. It's not them or us, it's together. We need to make this product successfully. What happens is, corporations and teams, we
Mm.
we can tend to finger point sometimes, and I advocate more for this concept in the book that's called geo-alignment, where
Yes.
you talk a lot, and the same way that you have your own team, you have to become a team with them. The companies that have these very successful partnerships with the regional, leaders or the heads of
Mm.
or the country managers, I've seen that work really well, and it's beautiful. And I think what happens to globalizers is sometimes, very often you get stuck in the middle, right?
Mm.
Get stuck in the headquarters and the country middle, where the regions are asking for something and then the headquarters maybe is working on something
Oh,
else, right? And so
mm.
that bridge that you can help is a very
Process.
difficult one,
Mm.
very difficult to cross. I always tell people take some diplomacy skills. I've taken diplomacy classes, listening classes, speaking classes for different cultures, because somebody has to do it. If it's not working, if it's not naturally working,
Mm.
then globalizers will want to have the phone calls with each one of the regions, wants to extract, is it working well, is it functioning well, do we have enough customer feedback, things like that.
I love that you also explain in your book an example that for you was the best team ever, that you
Mm,
always repeat because
yeah,
everyone was deeply committed, and you have the communicators expert, the person who help all in to bond all that teams together. As you said, that's so difficult because we are humans.
that was unbelievable, and that was an aha of doing self-reflection on what's working and what's not working. You will always get a lot of feedback if you're in globalization. Not fast enough, too fast enough, not deep enough, too strategic, not strategic enough, all the time. Okay.
Always.
You can ask anybody that has my job title, because we work very much at the executive level, and each executive comes with from a different company, having
Mm.
done it or not having done it, different perception. And imagine if you could be like a basketball team where, you just trust each other. You agree on some
Mm.
stuff and then let the team actually do the work. That I've seen done, and it was beautiful. And we had it happen at NetApp, and we were able to accelerate international revenue hugely.
Wow.
But
And Anna, sorry,
Mhm.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry.
what we did is we brought in a team from Patrick Lencioni. I love him. And
Mm-hmm.
he brought in two incredible corporate psychologists, or I even think
Yes.
doctors in psychology, corporate psychology. And we did a lot of introspection. I had to change a lot of stuff. I was the leader, so I had to go first to role model and listen. What is it that I have to change? Not just my team. No, what do I have to change? Right.
Mm.
And then we went, through my team afterwards. And as I was, this is maybe 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago. So it was a great lesson. At the beginning, it was very hard to hear,
Ah,
but I
yeah.
learned a lot. And, I think some of the things they pointed back then are still things that sometimes they point to this day. It may be part of who I am, my personality, but I'm
Mm.
very aware of it. So that
That's
somebody says like, hey, Anna, I'm like, yep, I know.
we are not perfect, but we
No,
are
my goodness,
evolving.
absolutely not. And I think that's what we have to remember, that we are humans.
Exactly.
And we seem to have forgotten a lot of that, and that's not okay. So, one of the things that I talk a lot in the book is people first, people
Mm.
first, And if you're people first, the teamwork is so much better.
Mm.
And
Yes.
if the teamwork is so much better, then you can have more difficult conversations. You can direct course, and it's
Mm.
okay to have the conversations you have to have. Nobody's getting fired. You have some sort of comfort in knowing that you're a team. This is like a basketball team. One person didn't shoot a 3-pointer, that's okay.
We
We
are
got
all
you.
together.
We're all together. Yeah.
Yes. And do you think, Anna, for this also to be successful, you need to have a technology background or something related to technology in order for
Yes,
this?
yes, absolutely. Yeah, my first two
Yeah.
degrees were in linguistics, and then the third one is in telecommunications.
Mm.
Because the minute I got into working for Cisco systems, that was it, right? I
Mm.
was like, okay, I have no clue what they're talking about. And I wanted
Oh.
to stay at Cisco, and I wanted to understand what they built. So I went through all the networking academies and got all the certifications inside Cisco.
Oh.
And guess what? Because I was a linguist already back then, I wrote their first dictionary.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
Congratulations.
always like the technology and the linguistics part of it. I can't get away of the linguistics part of it, right? And then from
Mm.
Cisco, I went to work at VMware, virtualization. So I had to
Mm.
learn all of that. So if I would say for the last, 25 years, I've been only in technology. And then I was always trying to bring in the linguistic part of it, right? Like with the user interfaces, or we need technical content, or we need this localized, or
Yeah.
we need a stronger localization team, or let's look at the quality of these linguistics. So I always cannot escape, because at the end of the day, the product needs to show up as you would buy any local product. And so behind the scenes, the linguistics needs to be very perfect as well.
Very. Mm.
But the technology, yes, to understand how ERPs work, APIs work, how you virtualize. I was 12 years at NetApp, and I was in the
Wow.
product team, right? And I ended up running the product life cycle for NetApp, where we had 200 products going through the PLC, and that was my team. So we listened to all the opportunity assessments, all the product briefs, and we made the decisions. Is this moving forward? Yes or no?
Yes. To
And
fully understand it.
yeah, and to see we were going to invest or not. So yeah, I've been around technology now maybe 25 years. Yeah.
Wow. And with all this AI hype and the
Mhm.
GPT and all that, how do you think that may possibly affect or not this globalization technology or processes? What's your
Yeah, I
opinion?
don't. Oh, I think it will evolve tremendously. It will change so much. It will exponentially. It is already
Mhm.
exponentially resolving things that maybe would take 5 people to figure out. Right? You can ask it. What are the compliance issues in this country and this country, and it's going to give you the answer.
Mm.
One aha yesterday that I started seeing here in the Silicon Valley. The companies are searching for prompt engineers because what you need to know for ChatGPT is what to ask.
Mm.
If you
A
don't know
good
what to
question.
ask and keep going, and then what? And now that you have this, can you tell me this? Right? There's so much content, right? All the research, all the papers. Even we were doing an assessment the other day for something very silly, and you can ask, where did you get this research from? And some was my own research.
Wow.
Basically, yeah. So this book, Truly Global, ChatGPT is pulling from it, right? If
Mm.
you would ask ChatGPT, who's the author of Truly Global and what are the main points, it's really going to give you everything already. So
Mm.
basically, before, when people were trying to spend hours figuring something out, this comes out. This comes out, and it doesn't surprise me because I've been working on these technologies of large language
Or
models
so,
for so many years. So many years in the 90s, right? We're 2023. I'm talking in the
you were
90s.
a pioneer. Yes.
We at Cisco were working already with IBM on large language models. So
Yes.
to see today where this is at, it to me or to a few of us is like, okay, yes, the progression. We have so much content, and we already were pulling content to do content lakes at NetApp. We were already doing that to see that we wouldn't double author things. So there's a fair amount of people that have been working on language or large language models, right? And that's why ChatGPT can, now especially version 4 can do quite a bit already.
But it will not jeopardize our profession or our, in a way. We don't
No,
know.
I mean, this is what I heard 30, not 30 years ago when we started working on this, because it was kind of very hush hush, the exercises that we do back then, and the results were not very good, right?
No.
But today the results are very good. Will it jeopardize the work of translators? I think the work of translators has already been impacted with neural machine translation.
Yes.
So
With
I
post editing
remember
and all that.
oh,
Yes, of course.
Dolores, when I used to take some freelance jobs when I came to the States, and I was like literally translating word by word.
Hmm.
And I'm like, wow, this is a lot of work, And I used to do legal translations and technical translations. It was so many hours to find, the right translation. And then when machine translation came, I'm like, oh my God, this is so good. And then when neural machine translation came, I'm like, oh, people should be
Better.
looking for supplemental jobs or for, we talked about this at the ATA 3 years ago. This is
Yes,
the keynote, right?
you are right.
What other things can you do? So you can train these language models. You can pass to be in quality management. You can be an editor. You can be a post editor. It's
Yes.
not perfect. ChatGPT is not perfect. This weekend, I was working with 3 colleagues of mine that were testing something, on our own for fun. And we were trying to scan code for internationalization with ChatGPT, and it was getting very, very lost.
Ah,
So
yes.
in some areas, like the linguistic translations where neural machine translations have already happened, it's going to be even faster. right? In the
Mhm.
authoring, it is already authoring.
Yes,
It's there. So I think post editors, prompt engineers, right? Asking the right questions. People need to know what the right questions are.
yes, yes, you're right. We don't have to panic.
No, 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 please no panic. And so many companies have forbidden ChatGPT for now.
Mm.
Countries are
Countries,
forbidding it.
yes,
Universities are forbidding it, right? There's ways around it, but regular folks, I don't think.
exactly. Yes. And Anna, so everyone should read your book if they haven't done already. If Because I think we are all in a way, every profession is like impacted with the global environment because
Well, if
mo-
your company wants to go global, yes. I mean, if you
the
have a
the
local
the
store, yeah.
and the possibilities, of course, because it's a big investment, as you said, and it takes many years. I love the example that you mentioned about Sarah, the retail store that is also
Zara,
here in
yes,
Argentina, but it
yeah.
spent so many years before going global. Yes, like
Zara's, I
it
love
was
the
very solid.
example. Oh, yes. And this is a family-owned business of a very humble guy who is like, I don't know, in the top 20 richest person in the world, right?
Yes,
And he started with his wife at home, doing it themselves. And then they opened the store and then they eventually got into Portugal, right?
yes.
So many times we have companies have to slow down, and a lot of people ask me, am I ready to go global? I said, is your offering already really good where you are? And then do you have the patience, the funding, and the model for the next 5 years? Because
Mm,
you will not see the results of where you've been working for decades in another country. It just won't work like that. If you've been 10 years in a country and you expect to see the result or same or similar results in another country, these are not good expectations, right? So what is the model? Yesterday I was trying to look through Common Sense Advisory. What is the model
mm.
for a company, or what can you expect, or what are some of the models to track this, right? I'm not seeing a framework in the industry. I might have to put one in.
Yes, you are the pioneer.
A lot of things that you see in the book, a lot of these globalization maturity models, country serve models, things that I've invented with my teams, right? We are always expanding, pushing boundaries. We have patents, we have trade secrets, because I'm trying to make sure that companies can make the best decisions.
Yes, solid ones. Amazing. Well, Anna, I will continue talking all day with you, but
Yeah.
we really appreciate your time, your
Thank you, Dolores.
devotion, your passion to your work, to
Yeah.
everything that you contribute to the world, to our profession as linguists, and of course to technology for sure. So it's been a real pleasure talking to you today. Thanks a lot. We will post all your social media, which is the best channel that you like to be communicated, like Twitter,
Oh, I thought
LinkedIn.
we were going to close nicely do you want to redo the thank you, and I can thank you and then,
Yes, yes, of course.
okay.
You will think now. I will
Oh,
edit
because
it
I thought
anyway.
you're going to cut. Okay,
Okay.
well, I'll just say thank you, Dolores. It was
Okay.
great
Now it's
being here. Thank you, Dolores. It was great being here, and thanks for the opportunity to talking with you.
thanks, Anna. It's been a real pleasure, and I will be waiting for your next book, perhaps in the near future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, yes, now I pause the recording.